supplemental material here, page 251, second edition, iteration 2 of the Go Free Dialogic. Ladies and gentlemen, you remember Lil Dicky Spencer popularizing the destructive idea of an ethno state. Why is that destructive? It's destructive because ethno-nationalism has already been defeated, and in the most spectacular way. Now, mind you, we're not saying that the variations of our Western culture that we practice, we create and practice, should be in any way diminished. In fact, if you go free, we're going to be, I think, touching upon that here. You'll see that Go Free will broaden and deepen those differences. Because this is instinctual for white people. It's something we love. We love that variety. So to be white positive is to want those distinctions to be starker, more beautiful, richer. That's what we want. And that's what Go Free then accomplishes. It had to accomplish that. We don't want to homogenize Western civilization. What is ethno-nationalism, though? Ethno-nationalism is how powerful anti-whites of all races, many different race anti-whites participated, were able to grab us by the torso and ram our heads together until much of our glorious genetic stock was dead on a battlefield, on many battlefields. The last thing, the very last thing, I mean, we just got done looking at the historical map of our people. We just got done with 2 world wars demonstrating the stupidity of ethno-nationalism. We cannot have as a telos, a goal, an objective, the Greek, this goal objective for us. We cannot have it be a return to that. We cannot go back to anything the anti-whites have already been able to defeat. We can't go back to a purer Catholicism or a purer Protestantism. I'm not saying that Christianity can't and won't remain, but Christianity of any type has already been defeated by anti-whiteism. So there's no use in haunting those cemeteries and looking for where do we find the right priest, the right preacher, the right interpretation of it. It doesn't matter. It's all been defeated. Ethno-nationalism horribly defeated. We need to recognize as our telos, and we're going to read that in just a moment, that we are a single people with many countries. Great and beautiful white roses ringing the world. A single people, one people. How do we know that we are one people? What is it, especially in the white race, with all of these differences that we see? We have differences in facial structure. We have differences in skin tone. We have differences in hair and eye color. We have infinitely more variety than the other groups of man, at least per my observation. Maybe I'm wrong, but infinitely more variety. What is it that aliens could come down and would say, that's a distinct group of people? Our instinct, our biospirit. As a complex animal, we project our instinct, as all animals do, onto our environment. And we can see in the animal kingdom the projection of their instincts onto their environment. And the more complex the animal, the more complex the projection of those instincts, to the point where we can very loosely call those instincts in the animal kingdom culture. Isn't that something? You see people loosely calling it the culture of the animal. So the way you can tell who's white, what peoples are white and what peoples aren't, are the people who create the culture of the West, Western culture. Western civilization. There's a lot of material here to dig into that will answer all of your questions. We're not going to be able to get to it all. And I really think for the people who are diehards, the people who really want to be white wizards, we need to have this segment. We need to make more room for this segment so it can be longer in future shows, get-togethers of the White Wellbeing Church, so that we can really explore more of this and understand more deeply who and what we are, so that we can't be undermined. I want to point out, and I'm going to read this now in just a moment, but I do want to point out that take even a cursory look at this community, and you'll see that people come into this community, they learn the Go Free Dialogic, and then they go out and they are like their own white wizard out there in the world. People come here, they learn, they stay in this community, and then they are able to go out and be a scintillating knight, a scintillating champion for white well-being. Where else has that ever happened? With any of the other movements and causes and vehicles and endeavors for the well-being of our people, that has never happened. People end up going, for example, they go and they follow Jared Taylor. And what do they say? They don't become Jared Taylors, do they? They don't suddenly get to the dinner party and then with an affected accent say, let me tell you about all of these studies and I will persuade you with the power of Jared Taylor, because I am tapping into who he is and he is coming through. No, it doesn't happen. Jared Taylor remains the only Jared Taylor. The Fuentesians, not a single one of them can be the snarky Nick Fuentes in their environment. Not a single one. You can go down the list. None of these people become champions in their own right. But in this community, numerous champions, numerous heroes. I mean, like I was just witnessing before the stream today, wasn't even following the guy. Now I am. But he was beautifully discussing, an English guy, beautifully discussing white well-being, taking on objections and doing a great job knocking them down. A lot of the typical objections and just knocking them right down fantastically. Big salutes. So what is really, whether intentional or unintentional, the outcome of these other methods? Well, it's that you've got one guy that everybody tries to point to. Go listen to him. Go to his conference. Go turn on his stream. That's not going to take back our destiny. That's not going to protect white children from victimization of anti-whiteism. That's not going to be able to get into the classrooms in places like New York and say, let us help you not be anti-white anymore. That doesn't work. That is hero hoping per creation of First Last. That is wish listing as well. Here we make heroes. I want every one of you to become a hero for white well-being, a genuine dominating force in your world. So many of you already are. And that's going to be the only way that we're going to succeed. Our telos, the Western sunrise. The Western sunrise is our telos, our raison d'être, both our objective and reason for being, the recapture of our destiny. That's our telos. The Western sunrise. What does the Western sunrise represent? It represents the recapture of our destiny. How does the sun rise in the West? It does so from our labors. It does so because we put our shoulder under it and heave it into the sky. It is a metaphorical tool that we use to visualize the beauty of our efforts and the glory of their fulfillment. We often speak of moving toward the western sunrise and willing the sun into the sky in the west. We say that the first rays of that sunrise represent evidence of our personal and communal reclamation of our destiny. Again, this is page 251. And I continue. One of our prized MCs is that Western kind is a single people with many countries. We also speak of the great white ring circling the globe as a bed of white roses. This position empowers us in more ways than I have room in this book to share. However, some people misunderstand or intentionally misrepresent the meaning behind this invigorating position. These few see homogenization, where the opposite is the objective. Going free and serving white well-being presupposes that the practitioner recognizes, loves, and seeks to preserve the beautiful variety we see in Western kind. That variety extends to every example of our appearance and our national, regional, distinct hues of Western culture. In truth, Southerners will be more Southern. Brits will be more British. Germans will be more German when we all practice going free and we see ourselves as a single people with many countries. While Westmen of all physical appearances and cultural hues have, do, and will continue to fall in love and produce beautiful sons and daughters of the West, it is also true that every Go Free practitioner is unwaveringly committed to a future that preserves and magnifies the splendor of our distinct physical and cultural hues. Anyone engaged in thought or activity that would diminish our people's idiosyncrasies identifies themselves as anti-white with those thoughts and acts. Think of Western kind as a single family living in a home. We all have different rooms that we decorate as we see fit to express ourselves. But we all come together to nurture, to protect, to survive, and thrive. And that